Hey there, it's Martin here from the Wireless Inc. I just want to greet you and share with you something very interesting, because just recently I took a trip to Singapore and it was on a coach, so it was like over 4 hours one way, so I had quite a lot of time on my hands to do something, and I kind of tried to practice this strategy. It is called no extra time, net time. So I use this time to educate myself, and I like to do that like very often whenever I do some repetitive task, whenever I go for a walk, whenever I go to the gym, whenever I exercise. So I will be listening to something and absorbing some new ideas. So that was again something similar. So this time I listened to quite a lot of Tony Robbins actually. I think it was around 4 or 5 hours, and there was some really cool, powerful and relevant for me this time ideas. One of them was Tony got inspired by the Japanese transformation after the Second World War and the word Kaizen. What it means constant and never-ending commitment to quality. And being inspired by that, he developed his new word himself called Kenai. And that stands for constant and never-ending improvement. So he was asked many times, like, how did you manage to transform yourself so fast, so quickly? And many people would believe that this is just, there would be like a life-changing event that would be responsible for that. But what he explained, he shares this idea of this kanai, that's constant and never-ending improvement. So what it means, you just basically every single day you put effort and you ask yourself this question: how can I improve it? How can I improve it? How can I improve that? And I like that a lot, because actually we developed some time ago, we developed this idea of 10%. We have this weekly discipline, weekly routine, where we will be meeting up with my wife, and we would be going through things, and we would be analyzing our numbers, we will be checking our traffic, we will be checking our leads, we will be checking our sign up, and we will be asking the question, how can we improve it by 10%? Why only 10%? Because if we kind of get to think about how to improve it by 100% or 50 or even 30%, then you might have a limiting belief behind that. But 10% is not too much, and you immediately feel, hey, I can do it. But if you stack up 10 weeks one after another, 10% each, there will be a major improvement, and the things are changing into a momentum where you start seeing the ball rolling. So there's a little tiny improvement on every single week. So after that, I decided to go a little bit deeper with this philosophy. I decided to actually check how can we improve that basically to every single task that we're doing right now by a little bit, like even 1%, just simply trying to do something every day. And there will be 3 different steps that I want to share with you that I learned on this bus to Singapore. One of them, the first one, is increase standards. Second one is adopt empowering beliefs. And third one is strategies. So let's start from the very first one, increase your standards. That would be different for different people, but basically a time in your life has come probably, you have experienced that, or you will, when you will say to something, it's enough. Enough is enough, and I can't take it anymore, and I will not tolerate that any longer. And I just recently watched an interview with Jim Rohn when he shared his breakthrough experience, turning point experience, when he would have a brownie girl coming to his house, knocking on his door. He was in his 20s, and she would say, hello, I'm a brownie, I want to sell you some cookies. And he would just look at her and say, sorry, I just bought one just a couple of minutes ago, so I can't buy the second package. Then he would go inside the room, close the door, and he said that it was very humbling, very painful experience. And he told himself he would never lie to a brownie girl again. And that was a trigger point. That was when he increased his standard. That's when he said, I will not tolerate that any longer. Then another situation, I read an interview with a lady who is CEO of one of those Fortune 500 companies. I don't know if it's Coca-Cola, if it's Sono, if it's some other company. But they asked her, how did you become so successful so quickly? What was the reason behind it? And she said, what happened for me was I went to my husband and asked him for money, and he said no. And after that, I said to myself that I will never again ask anyone for money. And that was a trigger point. That was when she said, I will no longer tolerate that. So she increased her standard. Ask yourself a question: what you will no longer tolerate, what you are ashamed and embarrassed of tolerating again. So that would be your day when you increase your standards. And second thing is, it's not only important to increase your standards, but you also have to increase your beliefs. Because if you commit yourself to increase your standard, to do something, and you don't believe that you can do it, then you will just not do it. And for example, I will share with you that we committed ourselves as well to have like 30 connections a day on Facebook, to write one piece of content a day, and I want to produce 3 pieces of video every single week. That's my commitment, and that's not should, it's must. It's something that I cannot negotiate. At the end of the week, I just have to deliver that. And at the same time, I have to believe it's possible, because if you don't have that belief that allows you to think that way, it will just not happen, because you will filter the reality, you will filter whatever you do in a way that it will stop you from that. So the third strategy is, the third point of creating a lasting change is a strategy. So how would that work? I mean, basically here you've got all those how-tos. How to drive more traffic, how to generate leads, how to convert people, how to get more signups. I mean, right now you just Google those things, you YouTube those things, and you get answers with all those how-tos. But realize something and notice something. You probably have seen it. You know people that know what to do, they know how to do it, but they don't do it. Why? Because they have low standards and they don't have belief that they can do it. There are people who have all those answers, but they still stay in bed. And Tony refers that his philosophy is that the mechanics, the how-to, is only 20%, but the standard and the belief is 80%, the psychology. So that makes a lot of difference, and I hope you enjoy